Let's talk about what is GraphQL. GraphQL is a query language. It is a new API standard that provides more efficient and flexible alternative to REST. So it is created by Facebook. A lot of companies are using GraphQL these days, like GitHub, Twitter, Coursera. These companies are using GraphQL. There are a lot of big players in GraphQL. GraphQL is not a database language. Like GraphQL allows you to connect multiple data sources. GraphQL doesn't care about database. It provides declarative data fetching. What is declarative data fetching? I'll talk more about in the next slide, but it means client can access only the desired properties or desired data. GraphQL allows the client to fetch the declarative data. It exposes only single endpoint. If you are working with GraphQL, you will have only single endpoint. Why do you need GraphQL and what are the main advantages of GraphQL? Let's say I would like to query for the GitHub. I would like to fetch result from the repository. I would like to fetch the ID and the name from the GraphQL node starter repository. Here I'm telling to GraphQL I would like to access only two fields, which are ID and the name. And the GraphQL gave us this response: data, GitHub repo, and ID and the name. Okay, you can also say that, hey GraphQL, I also want to see the commits in my response. This is a declarative data fetching. Client tells the GraphQL, I want these properties. So what GraphQL will give you this response, and you will see the commits array in the response. So one of the major advantages of GraphQL is GraphQL allows you to avoid multiple calls. What do we mean by multiple calls? Let's say that you want to fetch the post with likes. Each post has many likes. You would like to display the post with likes on the front end side. How will you handle this stuff in the REST background? You have to send three requests. Let's imagine there is a post request. You need to send the get request to fetch all the posts. You need to send the get request to fetch all the likes for the single post. Let's say you would like to display all the comments for each post. So you have to send the three requests. How GraphQL solve this problem? There is only one endpoint. You just query for this post and you provide the ID. You can tell the GraphQL I would like to fetch the likes, and inside the likes I also want to see the text property, and you can also specify I also want to fetch all the comments. So that is the magic of GraphQL. So let's talk about the GraphQL versus REST. I'll show you some of the differences between GraphQL and REST. There is only one endpoint or one route in GraphQL, and GraphQL is not based on the HTTP verse. You don't need to deal with HTTP like post, get, put, delete, patch. And it is a very fantastic tool. GraphQL provides a very fantastic tool, which is GraphQL, to generate the documentation. GraphQL automatically generates documentation for you. You don't need to work on the docs part. It provides a data typing. You can specify your queries or the types, like what type of response do you want. You need to specify the type in the GraphQL. On the other hand, on the REST side, you have to deal with multiple routes. You have to create multiple routes in the REST background. REST is also based on HTTP verbs. You need to create the GET request to fetch the data. You need to add or mutate the data. You need to create the post, put, or delete endpoint. REST also allows you to use versioning. You can work with versioning in REST.